Part 165. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1641. Seeing Jojo's brows, eyes, lips, and cheeks dotted with bright smiles, without the miserable expression of crying and pretending to be pitiful when he was a child, Hong Zanjun's heart became fuller and the wrinkles on his face relaxed. A girl smiles all the time, which shows that her revolutionary partner makes her feel happy. Okay. I'm relieved. Hong Zanjun patted Guan Yu's shoulder and looked at the tall, handsome young man in front of him. He thought they were a match. You know, it's hard to meet a perfect partner in this world. You should go and show your grandma, she must be very happy. Guan Yu was also happy to get the elder's approval. Let's go now. I originally planned to see grandma after seeing you. Then, go see your elder brother again, and visit Lu Tianjun if you have the chance. They are both in the capital, which makes it easier for them to visit relatives. Yes, Grandpa, you have your share and Grandma's share of the things we brought. Except for clothes, most of the food will be left with you first. No one else can take away the clothes made for Grandma, so Jojo can take them with him. Go up, but you have to guard against the rest of the Zhou family when eating. It's not that she judges a gentleman's heart with a villain's heart, but that she understands the virtues of the Zhou family too well. Hong Zanjun nodded and said, Okay, don't worry if you leave your things here with me. My grandma still lives in the same place, right? Hong Zanjun replied, Yes, I haven't moved the place and are still guarding her room. Neither your parents nor your uncles and aunts are willing to support your grandma. From time to time, they forget to bring her food. You push it to me, I'd recommend it to you. People say that you need to accumulate grain to prevent hunger and raise children to protect yourself from old age. But if you have too many women here, you'll be in debt. I'm afraid that I'll suffer a loss if I put in too much effort to support the elderly. He was childless but debt-free, and he met the Lu family's children in his later years, and his life was much more comfortable than that of Grandma Zhou. Jojo wished he could have wings between his ribs and fly to his grandmother's side in an instant. Guan Yu carried the things and followed behind. When he was about to reach the destination, he suddenly reminded, Buy 2 hot meat buns for my grandma. I will put the lunch box in my satchel and buy a bowl of porridge. The heavy snow has just stopped and the snow has not been swept away. The Zhou family must have selectively forgotten the old man again, right? Jojo paused and said, Okay. She only thought about seeing her grandma immediately, but she forgot how cruel her parents and uncles were. The two of them took the national food stamps exchanged in their hometown and bought 2 steamed buns and a bowl of porridge. The steamed buns were wrapped in oil paper and the porridge was filled in the lunch box. Guan Yu put it in his military coat to avoid getting cold in the wind. The two of them hurriedly took advantage of the heat. Stepping into the small shabby house where Grandma Zhou lived, it was a reverse room in a large courtyard. It was only one room, short and narrow, with the Kong occupying half of the room. The fire under the Kong must have been extinguished, and the room was bitingly cold. The old man was sitting on the shabby quilt, with white hair and skinny bones. He opened his eyes and looked at the pair of beautiful women who came in. Glossy and outstanding. Jojo, the old man recognized his granddaughter at a glance. Jojo burst into tears and threw himself on the edge of the Kong. Grandma, I should come to see you every year. Grandma Zhou stroked her hair with her bony hands and said with a smile, Why are you working so hard? Aren't I living well? The things you sent to your Grandpa Hong brings to me every day when he comes to visit. I'm not hungry at all, I'm wearing all the clothes you made, and others say I'm lucky. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1642. Guan Yu took out his lunch box and oil paper bag. Jojo, you serve Grandma to eat first, and I'll heat up the Kong. Yes, Grandma, let's eat first, Jojo poured some hot water into the enamel basin, soaked the towel, wiped Grandma's face and hands, then gave her the porridge to take a few sips, and then fed her the buns. There were not many belongings in the old man's room. Jojo sent money to Hong Zanjun to buy the thermos, and it was said that it belonged to Hong Zanjun. Hong Zanjun was an old revolutionary, and the Zhou family did not dare to take advantage of his belongings. Guan Yu picked up the broken coal scattered nearby, stuffed it into the Kong hole to light a fire, and took the spittoon with the porcelain off next to the Kong, went to a public toilet and dumped the grain cycle things inside, then washed it with snow water and brought it back. He moved quickly. Grandma Zhou had the buns in her mouth and she didn't even have a chance to stop her. When she finally swallowed the food in her mouth, Guan Yu had already gone out. Knowing that her granddaughter was married, she was so angry that she stabbed her granddaughter hard on the forehead. For a moment, I could only wait for Guan Yu to come in and say to him, "Child, stop being busy. Look, you and Jojo just came to the door, and you are busy with me. It's okay, Grandma, you are an elder. Aren't you supposed to do small chores? It's very cold in winter. Even if the toilet is in the yard, every household will prepare a toilet to avoid having to get up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, which is easy to freeze, so Father Lu and he, Lu Tianzi, and Zibao brothers always took turns to use the toilet in Zibao's room. Father Lu was very strict with Zibao's education and did not let him enjoy the care of his brother just because he was young. Grandma Zhou was very happy. After eating, the Kong was warm. She asked Guan Yu to sit on the Kong, took his hand and put it together with Jojo's. "I have nothing else to ask for in this life. You two can get married from now on, we will live happily with each other, supporting each other and tolerating each other. If Jojo doesn't do well, don't spoil her. You have to say it. Grandma, Jojo is very good. I am lucky to meet Jojo." Guan Yu made no secret of his love for Jojo. "Grandma, it's inconvenient for you to live alone now, so you might as well come with us. As a grandson and granddaughter-in-law, I also have the responsibility to provide for Grandma in her old age." Grandma Zhou and Jojo were stunned. Grandma Zhou didn't expect her grandson-in-law to be so filial, but Jojo was because Guan Yu never mentioned picking up Grandma. Guan Yu smiled and said, "You have raised Jojo since she was a child. You are her only relative. She misses you and Grandpa Hong the most in the Wanglu Brigade. She is worried that you will not have enough to eat or clothes to keep warm. Put it in front of her, don't you need to worry? You are so old and can't even afford a bowl of rice. Jojo and I can definitely provide it. I have a son and a daughter. How can I let my grandson and son-in-law take care of me in old age? Outsiders are not allowed to laugh at me to death." Guan Yu said disapprovingly, "Grandma, what you said is wrong. Now is a new society, advocating new ideas. Who said that the elderly can only rely on their children to support themselves? Look at Jojo, you can't bear to let Jojo be thousands of miles away all the time. Are you worried about me? Jojo, tell Grandma to take her with you when we leave." "Ew, are you really willing to take Grandma with you?" Jojo couldn't believe it. Because of the shortage of food, many people actually don't want to provide for the elderly. Even if the elderly are provided with food rations, food in the city has to be purchased with money, and food in the countryside has to be deducted from work points. If they take Grandma Zhou away, they are raising an old man who can't work or make money for nothing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1643. Guan Yu replied without hesitation, "You know the situation of our family well, can't we support an old woman? When we are able, we can repay our uncle and aunt well. He knew very well that the sufficient supplies at home came from Luzhang and Fengqingxiu. Jojo hummed, with a nasal sound. Thank you, Au. Jojo was extremely happy in his heart. He turned to look at his grandma. Grandma, you won't laugh at other people's jokes. You don't care whether they accept being laughed at or not. Just come with us, let's go together in your later years. You will wait for your granddaughter and grandson-in-law to be filial and live a comfortable life. When we have children, you will have to help take care of them. When she heard the words look after the child, Grandma Jo's eyes lit up, and then she said, how could it be my turn? Guan Yu hurriedly said, who said it's not your turn? I don't have parents. I won't be able to help look after my children when I give birth to them in the future. My eldest brother and sister-in-law are in the capital, and there is no one to take care of the children. I am so worried that my brows are almost gone. The two talked hard, and finally persuaded the old man to say that he would give them an answer after thinking about it. Although she has children, the old man has been living a very difficult life. If it weren't for the care of Hong Zanjun and the food and clothing sent by Jojo in these years, she would have died of cold and starvation 800 years ago, so she and her children have no life. All the emotions, such as the strong maternal love, are also consumed by the unfilial piety of the children towards oneself. When Jojo borrowed a fire from his neighbor to light the briquette stove to boil water, Grandma Jo opened a broken pillow she was leaning on, reached out and took out a box and stuffed it into Guan Yu, who was sitting on the edge of the Kong. Grandma, what are you doing? Guan Yu looked confused. Grandma Jo smiled and said, this is what Grandpa Jojo left for me during his lifetime. He told me at the time that I would give these things to the children who were filial to me. I didn't expect that it was Jojo who was filial to me in the end. The dowry for Jojo. In the old days, wealthy families would start saving dowries for their daughters when they were young. We don't have the conditions, so we can only keep it simple. Guan Yu scratched his head. Our family hasn't given the betrothal gift to Jojo yet. How long has this been, and there are still betrothal gifts? Didn't Anta send me a lot of things? Jojo washed his hands and walked over. Wedding supplies are wedding supplies, and betrothal gifts are betrothal gifts. When brother Tianwan and my eldest brother got married, my aunt prepared one for me and Tianzi. My aunt always treats everyone equally, but she didn't go before we got married. She's there, so I didn't give it to her. However, my aunt said in the letter that she would send it to you tomorrow. Jojo said, you don't have to be so polite. We have already received a lot of care from our uncle and aunt. The betrothal gift felt hot even when she held it. Guan Yu did not continue the topic and handed her the box in his hand. Look at what dowry Grandma has prepared for you. Jojo was well aware of the living conditions at home and probably didn't have any valuables. He opened the box without taking it seriously and was immediately dazzled by the gold and silver inside. Grandma, Jojo couldn't help shouting. Grandma Jo squinted her eyes and said, your grandfather and I both lived in the war era. Who wouldn't save some hard currency if we have the conditions? Although our family lives an ordinary life, your great-grandfather saved people and was given a lot of gifts afterwards. Thanks for the gift. I only spent a few dozen silver dollars in the box. They are not worth much, but those gold bars are very valuable. They are the big yellow croakers from Shanghai. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1644. Times have changed, and even if she was not on the verge of despair, Grandma Jo would not be willing to take it out. Jojo quickly put it into his grandmother's hands. Grandma, I can't take it. Au and I are filial to you, never in return. I know, but you are the only one who is filial to me. If I don't give it to you, who can I give it to? Grandma Jo put the box in her granddaughter's hand again, and closed her hands to hold the box. Take it, it's useless in my hand, and you have to guard against your parents and uncles coming to search for it. If you don't have any money to spend, sell it to the bank. A large yellow croaker can be sold for hundreds of dollars. If the box hadn't been hidden in an inconspicuous broken pillow, it would have been searched by the group of children. They would come and look through it every now and then, thinking that Jojo might send her something or money. Grandma Jo has long given up hope on them. Jojo couldn't refuse it again and again, so he had no choice but to accept it and hand it over to Guan Yu. The couple moved the luggage from the guest house to Hong Zanjun's house and stayed with Grandma Jo. During the day, they delivered the things Zheng Huiwei and Xin Yushan asked them to carry as required. At night, Jojo slept with Grandma while Guan Yu rested at Hong Zanjun's home. On the third day, Jojo urged Guan Yu to visit Guancheng. Jojo felt ashamed if he didn't visit his brother and sister-in-law when he came to the capital. Guancheng is extremely smart and skilled. He is now a senior engineer at a mechanical research institute. He earns a high salary and lives in a 40-square-meter house assigned to him by the research institute. After Zhong Wengzia gave birth to her child, she devoted herself to the child. Because she had no elders to help take care of the child, she took a long leave due to illness. They lived in the Tongzi building. Guan Yu and Jojo found them according to the address, registered downstairs, and walked up to the third floor. The stairways and corridors were filled with stoves, pots and pans from every household. Originally, they were only the remaining passage that can accommodate people passing through is now occupied by people cooking, and is filled with the smell of oil smoke. When Guan Yu walked into Tongzi Tower for the first time, he couldn't help but lick his tongue. Can he feel comfortable living in such a crowded place? Jojo whispered, Tongzi Tower is like this. Suddenly two young men and women with extremely good looks and well-dressed appearance appeared. The people who were cooking all looked over, with surprise in their eyes. A tall, thin middle-aged woman said in a loud voice, "Who are you looking for?" "My name is Guan Yu, and I'm here to see my brother Guancheng," Guan Yu replied. The middle-aged woman yelled, stretched her head towards the end of the corridor and said, "Wengziu, Wengziu, your brother-in-law is here." Zhong Wengziu raised his head with a joyful smile on his face. "Ayu, are you and Jojo here? I read the telegram you sent, and I knew it was time for you to come. You go and sit in the room, and I will cook the dishes right away." Jojo rolled up his sleeves and said, "Sister-in-law, let me help you." "No, no, you just go into the house and let me look after the baby. I don't feel comfortable putting it in the cradle." Zhong Wengziu pushed them into the room, turned around to stew the radishes, added water to the pot and simmered over low heat. She took out a 5-pound food stamp and 10 yuan and handed it to the tall and thin woman. "Sister-in-law Mo, please do me a favor, I have a visitor here, help me buy some vegetables and steamed buns from delicatessens and restaurants, whatever I have. If I don't have enough money, I'll give it to you when I get back." She only had these 10 yuan on her, and the food stamps were returned to her by someone else, so she put them in her pocket. Sister-in-law Mo's son is now studying with Guancheng, so he is naturally willing to help. "No problem, I will buy it for you. By the way, ask someone to tell your comrade Guancheng and ask him to come back on leave." "Thank you, sister-in-law Mo." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1645. When he learned that his younger brother and sister-in-law were coming, Guancheng immediately asked for leave and hurried home, where he happened to meet sister-in-law Mo, who was buying vegetables and rice. "Now, take the food Wengziu asked me to buy, and don't forget to return the lunch box to me later." The lunch box I borrowed. Aunt Mo handed a stack of lunch boxes and a bag of steamed buns to Guancheng, and also gave the remaining food stamps and money were given to him. Guancheng was grateful. "Thank you, sister-in-law." After returning home with the food in hand, Guancheng suddenly smiled when he saw his younger brother playing with his son in the house. "Brother, you are back." Guan Yu hugged his nephew with a look of joy on his face. Jojo, who was helping Zhong Wengzhou clear the table, also called out, a little shy. Guan Cheng responded twice, sit down, everyone, sit down and talk. I'll heat up the food. Even the freshly baked dishes were freezing cold carrying them all this way. Guan Yu turned his hand and put his nephew into Jojo's arms. He rolled up his sleeves and said, brother, let me help you. Hot dishes are not a technical job, so Guan Cheng did not refuse. Sister-in-law Mo helped buy 3 dishes, a braised pork, a sweet and sour fish and a cold pork head. She only needed to heat up the braised pork and sweet and sour fish. While the dishes were being heated, there were children playing in the corridor and the cooks. Everyone couldn't help but sniff, and the former even drooled, looking straight at the pot of hot food. It is a common practice in Guancheng, and this is the reason why the couple has to go to a restaurant for tooth ceremony. Make some delicious food that can be smelled by the neighbors. Forget about the adults. Seeing the children drooling with greed makes Guancheng feel bad, but he can't see anyone sharing the food, so the food doesn't taste good at all. Guancheng pretended not to see it, and when someone asked Guan Yu next to him, he smiled and replied, my brother, this is the first time he brings his younger siblings here. She looks really good. Yes, both of you are very handsome. Your family is full of talents. Getting married at such a young age? At first I thought they were your brother and sister, and I wanted to act as a matchmaker for them. Guancheng sent his younger brother to bring the hot braised pork into the house, and said with a smile, they just got married, so it saves you the trouble. The food is hot, let's talk later. Go, it's rare for you brothers to meet each other. The 4 brothers and sisters-in-law, who rarely met, were sitting around the table. The 6-month-old baby was sitting in Guancheng's arms, saliva dripping on the bib, and he stretched his hands on the table. He was wearing thick clothes and could not move very well. Sensitive. Seeing his nephew's naive look, Guan Yu laughed loudly, brother, Sugzu is so fun. This child's name is Su Su, Guan Su. Although the generations of the next generation of the Guan family and the Lu family are different, the Guancheng brothers have always grown up in the Lu family, and now they don't pay much attention to the seniority arrangement. The next generation will be named after Lu Chen, with the Japanese character next to it. The name was given by Guancheng's father Lu, probably in the hope that the blessings of the elders would be passed on to the next generation. After listening to his brother's words, Guancheng smiled slightly and said, you can practice your skills now. As he spoke, he put his son into his brother's arms. Before Guan Yu could react, Zhong Wengzhou's face turned red as the woolen coat on his body. No need to practice. I haven't taken care of any of my aunt's children before. I'm already a veteran. Guan Yu reacted very confidently and skillfully moved the egg custard bowl in front of him and fed it to the child. Nephew eats it? Actually, I want a niece. Guan Yu murmured, Fu Bao is so cute. We have too many boys in our family. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1646. Under the influence of the Lu family, no one in Guancheng or Guanyu cared about having a boy or a girl, although Guancheng took the revitalization of the Guan family as its own responsibility. Sometimes, there are so many boys that girls feel rare. Zhong Wengzhou used serving chopsticks to bring food to Jojo and said with a smile, it's not up to anyone to decide whether to have a boy or a girl. Should I just stuff him back after giving birth to a son? If I could really do whatever I wanted, there wouldn't be so many things in the world. However, Fu Bao must not agree. She has always wanted her to be the only girl in the family. Jojo, please eat more and see how thin you are. Let Au give you more supplements when you go back. Guan Yu's wages were low, and Jojo was working as a farmer in her hometown. She reminded herself to ask Guan Cheng to give them some money before they left. The Lu family is united and very harmonious, and Zhong Wengziu has become more open-minded. Guan Cheng only has a younger brother. If they don't support him as brother-in-law, who will? You can't always rely on Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu. They have done enough for their family. Zhong Wengziu was sincerely grateful to Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu. Even their biological parents would find it difficult to do this. Jojo said sheepishly, "Thank you, sister-in-law." "You're welcome, I'm eating it myself." Speaking of Fubao, my uncle and aunt are all in Wuchen. Au and I plan to go there before returning home from the capital. It should be, Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu are their reborn parents. Guan Cheng very much agrees with his brother's plan. The spring festival is coming so fast. You can bring 100 yuan and some things to our uncle and aunt for us. Zhuang, I have bad lungs and often cough. I ask someone to get a basket of Beijing white pears. You must bring them all with you. Guan Yu agreed immediately. Although the 5 children grew up peacefully and went to school, Zhuang was still the most frail and sickly one. She was allergic to many pollens. She would feel itchy when reeds floated on her body, including pollen from rice, corn, and wheat. You can't touch it, and you can't eat shrimps or other things. You will always have colds, fevers, and coughs in spring and autumn, and you will occasionally have asthma in winter. Even with Feng Qingxiu's careful care, these little problems always come to Zhuang persistently. When Guan Yu and Jojo arrived at the Lu family, the little guy could only watch Dun Dun and Erxian pile up in the yard through the window because of his illness. Snowman. Wuchen is colder than the capital. Guan Yu rubbed his gloved hands. Feng Qingxiu was at home on leave because her son was sick, so she greeted him, "Don't stand outside, come into the house as soon as you come. What are you doing with so many things? It's not like you don't know that everything is lacking here." Guan Yu first handed over a basket of Jingbei pears. Big Gothic asked us to bring them. "Oh, this thing is good. Rock sugar and snow pear water can moisten the lungs and relieve coughs. I haven't been able to buy fresh ones, only frozen pears. I didn't expect your brother to get them for us. There are pears in the space, which are Dangshan pears, purchased from the country of origin. It's a pity that there is no name to come up with. The space consumes a lot of food, seasonings, oil, and salt, but there are still a lot of fruits." Feng Qingxiu opened the small quilt covering the basket and took a look at it. She was happy and took 4 of them and handed them to Zibao. "Zuzu is infected by Zhuang and has a bad cough. You can give them to their house, send it over and let Zuzu's mother stew it for Zuzu to drink. Zuzu is a child in kindergarten. She sits in front of Zhuang. She is a sweet girl with an apple face and often brings food to Zhuang." Zibao responded, put 4 Jingbei pears into a small bamboo basket and sent them over. "Go to bed early and get up early, adjust your work and rest time, and take time to exercise. I used to exercise for 2 hours a day to ensure updates, but now I spend all my exercise time typing. Instead, my health is getting worse. It seems that I was rushing to finish the 150,000-year manuscript in June. Since I have been staying at home for the entire month, needs to adjust quickly." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1647. Now that Guan Yu and Jojo are here, Feng Qingxiu doesn't need Father Lu to carry back the box of jewelry he prepared. Instead, he calls Jojo to his bedroom and hands it over to her. "Auntie." Before Jojo politely refused, Feng Qingxiu said, "Everyone has one, and you should take it too. Some of these are the few things that the Lu family has survived, and some of them were bought from the black market. They are not in large quantities, just the meaning of betrothal gift." Jojo was holding the jewelry box, a little at a loss. Although she heard Guan Yu talk about this, She had no expectations in return. Actually, we don't pay attention to old customs anymore. Feng Qingxiu pursed her lips with a faint smile, and her clean and clear eyes showed a hint of motherly love. It's other people's business whether they care about it or not. Our family just cares about it. Whether a man values a woman or not is often reflected in material aspects. Everything must have a beginning and an end. After more than 10 years of raising brothers Lu Tianjun and Guan Cheng, they have taken 99 steps, and this step is not missing. During the meal, Guan Yu mentioned the matter of taking Grandma Zhou away to take care of her in her later years. People say that when a tree branches, children will divide their families. My eldest brother and I got married one after another, and my eldest brother gave birth to a nephew. Jojo and I will also have children in the future. My own children, when Tianzi and the others grow up and start a family one by one, the population of our family will become larger and larger, and one old house can no longer accommodate all of us. We two brothers discussed it and wanted to find my uncle when we go back. Grandpa allocated a piece of land for us to build a house. Although they regard themselves as the Lu family, their surname is Guan after all, and they cannot live in the Lu family forever. Since Jojo takes care of Grandma Zhou for the rest of her life, he is not qualified to take over the Lu family and live in it until the end of his life. Therefore, it is imperative to build a house. Things. He thought of this when he was preparing to take Grandma Zhou back to his hometown. He couldn't wait for the Lu family to speak. Feng Qingxiu was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Building a house? It's a good thing. It means that each of you has a family and started a business. In previous years, if there were some conditions, you would build a house for your son and marry him, and gradually form a small family. Take care of it. Grandma Jojo's old age is also your filial piety, as it should be. Jojo, don't think too much about it. There are only a few old houses. Because they are away from home for a long time, the few people at home lie very easily. What about the future?" Guan Cheng, who is extremely smart and worldly, thinks very carefully. This matter must have been brought up by Guan Cheng. Lu Tianzi may not have thought of it. Building a house must indeed be included in the regulations. Their family will always go back for vacation, as will Lu Tianjun's family of 3 and Guanzhen's family of 3. Zibao Fubao and the triplets are getting older and older. They can't squeeze into the same bed. Guan Yu and his wife will have children, and Lu Tianzi will also marry and have children. Before the family planning, their married brothers will not end up with just one child, including Chen Baoqiu and Feng Cheng. Yun, Li Jiaoyang, and their children, 30 people are all undercounted. Father Lu hesitated for a moment. Slowly, the children have settled outside, and their registered permanent residence is not in their hometown. I estimate that I can go home and live for 10 days and a half during the holidays. I will build a few new houses and the new yard will be empty. Unfortunately, it's also easy to be criticized. He thought about this problem, that is, most of the children are away from home, and they may not be able to go home all year round. Not to mention anything else, Lu Zhang and his wife have not been back to their hometown for several years, all because of correspondence. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1648. Akan and Au each married and had children, so they should have their own property and private space. We didn't consider this before. I think it's better to build a house for the two brothers, and we also renovate the old house. There is no need to build several new houses for Tianjun and Zibao. After Lu Zhang finished speaking, he thought carefully for a moment and looked at his father's wrinkled face. The previous homestead was about 200 square meters. Now I think it's a little small. Ask my uncle to expand the area. Build 5 main rooms and 3 east and west side rooms. The space will be larger. When the children grow up, it won't be a problem for relatives and friends to come. Put a few bunk beds in one room, and the boys can live in one room. Feng Qingxiu nodded, this is good. When we reunite, the whole family has a place to rest. After all, our family will settle down one by one in other places in the future. It doesn't make sense for people not to be in their hometown to occupy so much homestead. 2 new houses for 2 surnames are enough. Jojo blinked, a little confused. Will he and his wife and Lu Tianzi not be at home in the future? How come they all settled in other places? Feng Qingxiu saw through Jojo's thoughts and smiled, nothing is absolute in the world. The changes in national policies are far beyond our imagination. Who can guarantee that Tianzi and Au will work in their hometown in the future? As we grow older, our ambitions will also change. You are still young. It is always good for young people to read more books. Knowledge can never be taken away by others. I have been reviewing my lessons and learned a lot of new knowledge from Guan Yu. Although Jojo was not recommended to go to college, she always remembered Feng Qingxiu's reminder to herself, and learning did open her eyes. Feng Qingxiu nodded approvingly, turned her head and said to Lu's father, Dad, since we have renovated the old house and built a new house, why not build a brick and tile house at once? I believe no one will gossip if we build a brick and tile house now. When the status reaches a certain height, what is gained is admiration, not jealousy. Moreover, the Lu family is very popular now. Father Lu thought for a moment and said, that's right. It's easy and time-saving to do it all at once. When you got married, we planned to build a brick house but failed. Now we can finally build it, but we have to go through Comrade Jiang's connections and buy a few truckloads of high-quality bricks and tiles. I think a bungalow is good. Let's build a bungalow, Guan Yu interrupted. Father Lu, Lu Zhang, and Feng Qingxiu all exclaimed at the same time and asked him why he wanted to build a bungalow. Guan Yu said confidently, the roof of the bungalow can be used to dry things. If there is grain, it can be dried. If there is no grain, it can be dried vegetables, firewood, quilts, clothes, etc. It is clean and easy to clean. On the other hand, the grain dried on the mud ground will always be mixed with some dirt and clods when it is collected. The dried sweet potatoes covered with mud are not tasty. Moreover, the tile house is on a slope, and it is not convenient to sweep the snow. It will slide down with a swishing sound. Bungalows are so good, like the bungalows where Uncle and Aunt live now, with a layer of cement inside and outside. Except for the dust and dirt brought by people's feet and wind, the roof is a clean piece of cement. Feng Qingxiu thought seriously for a while, clapped his hands and smiled, this is a good idea. Lu Zhang also thought about the future land contracting system, not bad, not bad, we build bungalows, but it's just a matter of spending a little more money. When the foundation is deeper and stronger, the house area is larger. If conditions permit in the future, we can add a layer on top of the bungalow, and it will be a building, and there is no need to worry about not having enough rooms for a family. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1649. It makes sense. Let Lao Jin design a house for our family. He has a side job in architectural design. He was also well known in the industry before, but his other titles are too famous. Many people don't know that he still knows this industry. Father Lu said enthusiastically, let him design 2 houses for us that can be easily expanded later without affecting safety. Guan Yu said, my uncle's house can be built bigger. Our house doesn't need to be built. It can be built smaller. There are 3 main rooms and 2 east and west rooms. It's too big to attract people's attention, but it has to be built together. Then you can only choose a piece of land in front of our house. There is no open space in the west behind, Father Lu said. To the west is the cowshed, behind is the house where the elderly live, to the east is the river, and there is a path between the Lu family and the river. No problem, just stay together. It doesn't matter if the houses are far apart. Zibao swallowed the food in his mouth and joined in the fun. Grandpa, a large room built according to the pattern can be turned into 2 small rooms by adding a wall inside. I see that many houses in the army are very small. That's not necessary, the room is still big and looks comfortable. The dinner table turned into a house planning discussion. Can you build me a study room? I can draw and read. Fubao's eyes were shining brightly. Among the 5 children, apart from Zibao, she is the most studious. Zibao smiled and said, okay, your big room can be turned into 2 small rooms, one can be your bedroom, and the other can be your small study. You are the only girl in our family, so you must have your own room. Fubao smiled happily, brother, you are so kind. Brother, I also want my own room, a big room. I have a lot of little books and a lot of toys, Lu Erxian said impatiently. Only Dun Dun took care of the weak Zhuang and did not participate in this dispute about housing in his hometown. Discuss. Zibao flicked his forehead and said, when the adults are talking, why are you kids interrupting? We brothers don't have separate rooms. Looking at the height gap between Zibao and himself, Lu Erxian retreated to his chair and ate a big meal, mumbling vaguely, if you don't give it, I won't give it. I know that everyone doesn't like me and only likes my sister. Brother, you don't even have a separate room. I only have it for a girl. How come everyone doesn't like you? Lu Erxian tilted his head and thought for a moment, swallowed the food in his mouth, and announced loudly, I want to be a girl too. Everyone who was eating at the dinner table almost screamed after hearing this. Lu Zhang smoothed away the pain in his chest and said seriously, Xiong, you are a boy, you can't become a girl. But I want to be a girl, like a sister. Ye Yan remained silent, and finally couldn't help but ask, Xiong, why do you want to be a girl? Just because your sister has a separate room and you don't. Lu Erxian held his head high and his chest high, sister, because she is a girl, she has her own room. She can often wear nice new clothes, and she can also draw nice paintings. The little frog she drew last time is better than my tin frog. They are all beautiful. If I become a girl, I will have my own room, new clothes to wear, and I will also be able to draw beautiful little frogs. Father Lu suppressed his laughter and touched his head, your sister can draw since she was in elementary school. If you study hard, you will also be able to draw beautifully. Didn't your mother make you new clothes? You can wear it during the Chinese New Year. Feng Qingxiu always loved her children and would always buy them new clothes throughout the year. Of course, she would wear old ones most of the time. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1650. Lu Erxian has a restless temper and wilts when he talks about studying. Under the influence of their families, Dun Dun and Zhuang have begun to read, and practice calligraphy. They are both talented. Zhuang is especially outstanding, not inferior to Zibao and Fubao. Lu Erxian thinks about playing every day. Every time it is time to study, he disappeared without a trace. Seeing his appearance, Feng Qingxiu whispered, when he goes to elementary school next year, he will definitely not be able to listen to the class well. Maybe he is a little fool in his studies. That's not right. He is not stupid. He is very smart. The result of not studying hard will definitely be poor grades. Lu Zhang smiled and said, I think Erxian has to wait until he is older to get better. It's okay, don't worry, there is no stupid child in our family. Even if he didn't study hard when he was young, he will catch up when he grows up. The wilted Lu Erxian quickly cheered up, no, I still want to be a girl. Lu Zhang said, whatever you want, if you can become a girl, then we will have 2 girls in our family. Mom, please teach me how to become a girl. Lu Erxian turned his head and stared at Feng Qingxiu with bright eyes. His face that had become thinner with age looked almost exactly the same as Dun Dun's, except that there was no Dun Dun. With a simple and honest look, he said, Mom, you are also a girl. You are prettier than your sister. You must know how to become a girl. How could Feng Qingxiu know that this fire would burn her? She put down her chopsticks and spread her hands. Lu Erxian, you have found the wrong person. My mother was originally a girl. There is no such thing as a boy turning into a girl. Then what should we do? Lu Erxian frowned in distress. Everyone laughed and didn't answer. As a result, early the next morning, the adults who had gone out to brush their teeth in the yard or work in the kitchen suddenly heard Fu Bao scream, Lu Erxian, you bastard! Lu Erxian rushed out of the house wearing Fu Bao's red woolen coat. Feng Qingxiu made a puff sound, spraying out the white foam caused by brushing his teeth. Lu Zhang almost swallowed the mouthwash he used after brushing his teeth. Jojo was so shocked that he dropped his spoon to the ground. Guan Yu was a little better, holding up a basket of cornmeal buns that he was about to send to the kitchen. Zibao walked around the yard with Lu's father and Cheng Baoqiu and his wife, and immediately slapped his legs and laughed. Lu Erxian's hair is the fastest growing among the triplets. After 2 months of not having a haircut, it has grown a little and covered his forehead. Now he has several bunches of hair tied with red wool into small braids, which are messy. Upturned. Not only that, he was also wearing Fu Bao's bright red scarf and Fu Bao's fur shoes on his feet. After all, Fu Bao was 2 years older, and girls develop earlier. Her clothes and shoes looked very big on Lu Erxian's feet, but Lu Erxian didn't know it and turned around triumphantly, am I becoming a girl? Feng Qingxiu was a little regretful that she didn't have a camera at home, otherwise she would have taken this scene. Lu Zhang knew his wife better. He spit out the mouthwash in his mouth and said, don't you know how to draw? You can draw it if you have time. I think your realism is very realistic and you will definitely make it lifelike. This is a good idea. Feng Qingxiu quickly rinsed her mouth and finished brushing her teeth. Seeing them all overjoyed, Lu Erxian said smugly, have I turned into a beautiful girl? You are all stunned, right? Mom didn't tell me, but I will still change. Sun Wukong will change 72.